Are you ready to learn how to regulate your very own nervous system? Are you ready to understand the part of you that loves you very much, the part of you that you might not have a relationship with yet, but the part of you that you absolutely can build a relationship with? Before we go anywhere, I'd like you to know one truth. Your nervous system is not something that happens to you. Your nervous system is something you can learn to influence reliably, measurably, and immediately. And the bridge, the tool, the language you will learn to speak is your breath. The body-brain principle, the 80-20 awakening. Your nervous system is made up of billions of nerve endings, like electrical cords, some as thin as a hair and some as thick as a small rope. But here's what almost nobody knows. Only 20% of these wires lead from the brain to the body. 80% lead from the body back up to the brain, most of this living in our guts and our hearts. Think about that for a moment. That means the major function of your brain is not to command, is not to decide, is not to talk. The major function of the brain is to listen. Your brain listens 80% of the time, and it only talks 20% of the time. When you understand this, you start to understand why breathwork works. You start to understand who is listening when you breathe on purpose. Awareness is the foundation. As Jesse Coomer, founder of the Language of Breath, teaches, awareness is the foundation of all positive change. But here's the part most people skip. Awareness itself is more important than its content. It doesn't matter what you're aware of. It matters that you are aware. Because without awareness, your nervous system gets dragged behind your life like a passenger on a runaway train. Without awareness, your emotions become passengers too. The 37 trillion cells in your body store the memories, the shocks, the suppressed moments, whether you want them to or not. This is how the body keeps score. Stress, the invisible architect. Let's talk about stress for a moment. There's two main categories. We have acute stress. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You stub your toe. You're insulted out of nowhere. These are the one-off surprise stressors of our lives. Secondly, we have chronic stress. The consistent tone of a coworker. Household responsibilities. Driving in hectic traffic every single day. The constant digital pressures of our modern lives. We call these normal, but they are not normal. They are chronic stress triggers we have learned to ignore. When we're unaware, stress drives our nervous system, not the other way around. The two modes of the nervous system. Your nervous system has two main operating modes. The first is rest mode, otherwise known as the parasympathetic state. I like to call this R mode because everything here begins with the letter R. We're talking about rest, repair, recharge, realign, rejuvenate, relax, restore. This is where digestion works properly, where hormones balance, where emotions make sense, where we sleep deeply. This is where clarity lives, where peace lives. But then we have combat mode, the sympathetic state. It's not the villain. This mode is necessary, but combat mode is the mode that lets a parent lift a car off of a trapped baby. It powers athletes, it protects you from danger, and it sharpens you in a battle. But here's the problem. Many people today wake up in combat mode and go to sleep in combat mode. Even if their mind feels calm, Their body never leaves the fight. And when the body lives in combat mode for too long, digestion suffers, hormones spiral, cortisol dominates, inflammation rises. Stress becomes the background music of life, and it's not a pretty song. This is how chronic stress becomes illness. This is how emotional overload becomes physical disease. There is a chicken-egg moment at the birth of the language of breath. When Jesse Coomer was involved in a breath study, participants wore breathing monitors. The researchers tracked breathing patterns, stress levels, and nervous system states. The discovery was profound. Your breath and your nervous system mirror each other. It popped a big question. Are we breathing this way because we feel this way? Or are we feeling this way because we're breathing this way? The short answer is both. If you have no awareness of your breath simply tags along behind your stress. It mirrors your fear. It mirrors your anxiety. It mirrors your overwhelm. And the longer this goes on, the more you drift into combat mode without even knowing it, sometimes for years. This is how people end up feeling broken, lost, confused. This is how symptoms show up, where tumors are born. This is how pills become coping tools instead of healing tools. So the question becomes, how do we turn this around? The two parts of you, the conscious and the unconscious. We often hear the phrase mind and body as if they're separate things, as if the brain is a computer sitting on top of a robot. But remember, 80% of the signals run from the body to the brain. If anything, the body is the command center. We are not mind and body. We are one thing, a living, breathing creature with two components. The conscious you. The conscious you is the part of you that wakes up in the morning, makes decisions, chooses actions, and is aware. Your eyes are open. Then there's the unconscious you, the part of us that we understand less. This part of us that loves us very much. The part that beats your heart, digests your food, regulates your hormones, and controls the modes of your nervous system. This part of you doesn't use language in the traditional sense. It listens through sensation. And when we use our breath on purpose, speaking a language to it, this is the part of you that hears you. Learning the language of breath is learning to communicate with the part of you that has been keeping you alive since your very first day on earth. Why is breath the most remarkable bodily function? Well, there are vital functions we need to survive. We need a heartbeat, digestion, nervous system activity, shelter, nourishment. But eating is a conscious act. Drinking is a conscious act. But digestion is unconscious. Our heartbeat is unconscious. Breath is both. You don't have to breathe consciously, but you can choose to. And that's what makes it so special. No other vital bodily function is like that. Breath is the only function shared equally between the conscious part of you and the unconscious part of you. And because the unconscious part regulates your nervous system, breath becomes your way of influencing the state of your life. Nobody can hold their breath to death. Here's something most people misunderstand. Your nervous system does not trigger breathing because of low oxygen. It triggers breathing because of rising carbon dioxide, or CO2. And here is the breakthrough. Your tolerance to CO2 directly mirrors your ability to handle stress. Increase your CO2 tolerance, increase your stress resilience. This is why CO2 training is so transformative. It doesn't just change your breath, it changes your life. The two fundamentals of breathing. Number one, nose breathing. When we do this, the beneficial reasons are it regulates the cadence of our breath, prevents overbreathing, filters out 75% of the toxins in the air, it rehydrates the sinuses, it increases nitric oxide and allows 20% more oxygen absorption, which means breathing through your nose gives your heart a 20% break. Secondly, the breath wave. We are born perfect breathers. Babies breathe in waves: belly, ribs, chest on the inhale, and chest, ribs, belly on the exhale. This matters because most of the alveoli live in the lower half of the lungs, and breathing like a baby maximizes oxygen extraction. It is the most efficient breathing pattern we can learn. And this is the toolbox you always have. Breath is unlike any other wellness practice. You don't have to roll out a mat. You don't have to schedule it. You don't have to go to the place. You don't have to drive anywhere. You have your breath when you wake up, when you brush your teeth, when you drink your coffee, when you make your coffee, when you drive, when you argue, when you talk, when you sing, when you work, when you listen, when you make decisions, when you forgive, when you learn, and when you rest. There is never a moment when you are without your breath. And that is why breath is my favorite wellness tool in the world. Reuniting with an old friend. Reuniting with your breath is like reconnecting with a friend who has been with you since the first second you were alive and will be with you until your last exhale. I can't think of a better best friend than that. Your breath is the bridge between the conscious you and the unconscious you. Learning the language of breath is like couples counseling between you and yourself. Awareness practice is the first step. We begin with awareness. Feeling your breath. Notice your cadence. Which muscles are you using? Sense your inhale. Sense your exhale. Not changing anything, not manipulating, just noticing. This is the first step, and it is profound. Because when you learn the language, everything starts to change. After a few sessions, you'll learn breath techniques you can use for focus, calm, energy, balance, motivation, emotional processing, deep sleep, resilience. There are a million ways to breathe. And once you learn the language, your trained mind responds automatically. Your breath becomes a reflex. Your nervous system becomes your ally. Stress loses its power and you become resilient. Here's my invitation. My name is Gatlin Fenwick and I'm a certified language of breath breathworker. If you want to regulate your nervous system, if you want to master stress instead of being mastered by it, reach out to me. Check out our website, schedule a session. I would love to be your breath coach. You already have the tool. You already have the power. You've had it since your very first breath. Now it's time to learn how to use it.